Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have something really interesting to take a look at today because we actually have a brand new company on the scene that has begun making dinosaur figures, and as you can see, these are created by Funville. They are part of the Dinos Unleashed line, and we've got two different variants of the Velociraptor that they already have out. These figures are commonly found at Dollar General here in the United States. I don't know where they would be found outside of the United States, unfortunately, but I know I actually found them at Dollar General, so that's where I know for sure they are showing up here. But you can see that they look pretty cool overall, very Jurassic Park-ish looking as far as this particular version of a Velociraptor goes. In the sculpt, we obviously have a very featherless version, so I would imagine they're probably based more on a Jurassic Park type version of a Velociraptor, and they definitely look to be. The box art looks pretty cool. You can see we have that kind of like open face look for it, and I love the images there in the background where you can see like a pterosaur flying. Clearly it's got a cage with warning I bite there, so again, furthering the evidence of that Jurassic Park sort of inspiration for these figures. And again, like I said, we have two different paint variants here of this Velociraptor, as we have a green and a brown version. So if we turn the box around here to the back, you can get a good look at the other figures that are currently released in this wave. As you see, we have a Spinosaurus, a Triceratops, obviously the raptor we're looking at now, and a T-Rex. And there's also some roaring action dinos as well as a giant T-Rex. So some stuff that I'm definitely looking forward to getting my hands on in the near future and reviewing for you guys as well. But I'm very excited to pop these out, take a look at them. I've been waiting for a little while now to do just that, so let's pop the boxes open and check them out. So here are our Velociraptor figures, now freshly out of the package and looking pretty cool. You can see, though, one slight issue with the figures is we actually have the sound box area on the side of the figure, but honestly I think they actually did a good job on this when it comes to this Funville version, because I feel like that was pretty inevitable, because when you look at the underside, you've got the battery compartment and there's no real other good area where they could have put that sound area, so I feel like that was probably for the best. And I like the fact that they did at least put the battery compartment here on the underside, so you don't see any type of like ugly screw holes or anything, which is also a huge plus for this figure, and actually has some pretty good weight to it. Like, I am really quite impressed with the overall quality of this figure. It is much higher quality than I was expecting it to be, because normally when you buy dinosaur figures like this, they're usually like that cheap kind of like plastic, and you could just feel that they don't feel very high quality. The legs are a rubber, but they feel like a very solid rubber, and even the plastic of the body actually feels pretty good, like pretty high quality. So definitely impressed with these two already. I think, again, the detail looks pretty nice. I like the paint schemes that we're given here, almost like a mountainous or like a valley type version, and then we've definitely got like a jungle-like version when it comes to this kind of brighter greenish version. And again, sculpt-wise, they definitely have a very Jurassic Park type of a look, which I also love. So let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at both of these very cool Velociraptors. So we will start by looking at the brownish Velociraptor, and then we'll take a look at the green one after. But you can see, as far as the detailing here in the face goes, it's got some pretty nice looking skin texture, some pretty nice looking scale detail, and all of that fun stuff here on the head. Like, look at how really nice looking the detailing is here on the top of the head of our raptor. Very nice looking sculpt and detail, and we actually have an articulated jaw, which is also a huge plus for the figure. You can see that we have a really nice pinkish tone on the inside of the mouth, and some pretty nicely sculpted out teeth, which are also painted quite nicely. You can see that the pinkish tone and everything here on the inside of the mouth has a nice gloss coat, which is very cool to see. The eyes are painted with a blue, and they have a nice black pupil. You can also see the nostrils there, sculpted out at the tip of the snout. And I like that we have this nice brownish coloration, but they have darkened the area around the eye with kind of like a gray, and definitely helps to give it some color variation, helps for sure with the appeal factor of the figure. As you start to move down here into the neck, you can see the detailing is a little bit more muted in the body itself, but I don't think that it by any means takes away from the figure, because it still looks really cool, honestly. Again, I'm very impressed with this release immediately, and you can see that we have this bluish design that runs along the back, and this figure actually really reminds me of Velociraptor Echo when it comes to the tones of color that they've used on it, and also the kind of squiggly design that we have through the figure, and that immediately makes me love the figure because I am a huge fan of Velociraptor Echo from Jurassic World, and probably one of the most underrated color schemes for any Jurassic Velociraptor, and I think that they've again kind of given it that sort of a look with this version. But as you move down, you can see again some nice detailing. You've got the throat here on the underside. You can see some skin wrinkles and stuff right there. Moving into the arm, you've got nice muscle definition there in the arms. The elbows sculpted pretty nicely. The arms are held into the body, and the hands as well are held into the body in what I would imagine is a pretty nice natural way. Obviously the wrists are pronated, but considering this is based on more of like a Jurassic Park type of a version of a Velociraptor, that doesn't really matter very much. And again, very cool positioning, and you can obviously see the arms are articulated as well, and they work very, very smoothly. As you lead back here into the stomach region, again, the detailing looks pretty good. Pretty nice looking skin texture as you move through the stomach region. You can kind of make out the hip bone a little bit right there. You can also see the spinal column there running along the back of the raptor. As you move down into the thigh, you also have some nice muscle definition, and you can pick up on some osteoderms and stuff here and there as you move through. Nice muscle definition in the calf, as well as you have the kneecap sculpted really nicely. Moving down into the foot sculpt, you've got some beautiful scoots down the toes. You do have some very nicely sculpted out nails. Unfortunately, no nail paint, but the sculpting of the feet actually looks really good. You can also see we have dew claws over there, which is also very nice to see. And again, articulation in the legs, which I don't want to do too much because I think that might activate the action feature. But as we continue to move along, you can see that the tail looks really nice, and for the most part the tail is almost straight out, but you can also see that it curves downward and to the left slightly. It does also have a little turn, a little bend right there, but it still looks really cool. And again, a very kind of Echo-like Velociraptor here from Funville Toys, and I'm definitely impressed again with the overall quality. Like, I'm really blown away by the fact that this actually has some decent weight to it, and you could just feel the high quality in the figure. And then we've got the greenish version, which in my opinion would be more of like a jungle version, and a similar looking color scheme as far as like the design goes compared to the brown one. So we've got the blue eye with a black pupil on this one, and then you can also see that we have a little darkening of color there in the eye socket area, which helps to again add a little color variation to it. We have the articulated jaw with the really nicely painted teeth and mouth and everything on the inside in here. Very nice gloss coat added yet again to add that extra bit of realism. And then as you move down into the figure itself, instead of the bluish design we had before, we now have a light green design, which is pretty cool again. And again, no nail paint or anything like that, unfortunately. Something maybe Funville could do in the future would be add nail paint to their figures, and maybe even just generally a little more color like on the underside would be cool. But outside of that, again, the figure is really neat, and I actually like the fact that we have different paint variants of the figures, and especially that we have this kind of jungle-like version compared to that brownish version. I think they just look really neat together, and I love the differences between them as far as the coloration, like looking similar as far as the design, but the tones are so different, and giving you almost like, this one almost has like more of like a desert type look, and this is more of like a jungle type look. But you can see that the paintwork and everything looks good over here. Nicely placed paintwork of the eyes and everything. Nothing appears to be sloppy on the figure at all. So it's really cool, and I'm actually, again, a pretty big fan of these figures. Can't wait to see the rest of them, and can't wait to see what else they release in the future. But let's go ahead and check out the action feature. And then, of course, as far as the articulation goes, we already had shown off the articulated jaw. We've already taken a look at the arms. We also have the legs. Now, the legs are going to immediately make the dinosaur roar, and what you're going to hear are some awesome Jurassic Park Velociraptor noises. So you can see how they wiggle there. They move. They don't move too much, but they definitely move. Like, they can go pretty far forward. But that's because the action feature is basically you press this down, the raptor is going to give off this really cool look and stance. With the mouth open, it activates the mouth and jaw to open up. And then we hear those fantastic Jurassic Park Velociraptor noises. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. Absolutely love that. So We'll obviously see that the same thing would occur for this one. So some pretty darn awesome noises and a pretty cool action feature for a dinosaur like this. And then for a length, if I can keep a hold of it, you are looking at, and it's definitely a pretty good size, about 9 3/4 inches or around the 24.5, closing in on 25 centimeter range. And then for a height, you are looking at a little over 5 inches, closing in on 5 1/4, but not quite, or around the 13 centimeter area. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to these really cool Funville Velociraptor figures. And what you can take away from this is the fact that these raptors are pretty big. They're definitely much larger than your average raptor figure that's sized like this. They're kind of a similar size range to the older Jurassic World Hasbro Velociraptors, fairly similar in size, I think, to those raptors. And for another comparison, here is the Mattel Extreme Damage Velociraptor, and you can definitely see that these Funville Raptors are much larger than the Mattel version. I was actually going to grab one of the Hasbro ones to bring in, the one that I was just talking about. I think it's like a Velociraptor Blue figure, potentially. It's a similar size to this, but not exactly. There's like the slightly smaller versions of the Hasbro Raptors, and then there's the larger, like really big ones that were missing the middle toe. It's not the larger ones, it's the ones that are under that. If you happen to be familiar with the Hasbro line, that's the one I was talking about, but I can't seem to locate it on my shelf currently, so I figured a much more popular Raptor would be the Mattel version here, and definitely a better one to bring in and show you guys comparison-wise next to these versions. And then when it comes to classic Velociraptors, we have a Kenner Jurassic Park Velociraptor next to our Funville Raptors, and you can yet again see that they are definitely a much different size range as far as these Funville versions go. They are quite a bit bigger than even the Kenner version. And then for a final comparison, and when I kind of run out of ideas as far as other figures to bring in for a comparison, we have the Collect Day Dimetrodon, the Safari LTDU Tyrannus, and Schleich Diabloceratops next to our Funville Raptors. Just in case you happen to have one of these figures here, it will hopefully give you a good idea as far as the size and how they size up next to each other here with these really cool Funville versions of the Velociraptor. So these brand new Funville Velociraptor figures, part of their Dinos Unleashed line, are really cool and definitely two figures worth searching out. And on top of the fact that they're really cool figures, I am beyond excited to see a brand new company entering the Dinosaur figure collectible line, because we have, again, Funville jumping in on the Dino game and giving us some really cool figures, as we have 4 different species for the first round of their figures. And again, the first one that we are taking a look at here, these Velociraptors, are really cool, and they give me that strong kind of Jurassic Park toy line vibe. I really feel like they have a strong similarity to that style figure, and obviously the appearance of the Raptors is very Jurassic Park, because we've got fully non-feathered Raptors here, the very scaly JP style, which we all know and love, or at least a large majority of us know and love if you are fans of the Jurassic franchise like I am. And I think they definitely did a good job on these Raptors. The sculpts are really nice. The paint jobs are pretty okay for what they are. Again, they're not super highly detailed paint jobs, but they look decent enough for what they are. And the brownish one, again, gives me Echo vibes, which I really do quite like. They also have some really nice, very fine detail to them, as well as articulation, and articulation is definitely never a bad thing. The articulation also works really nicely, really smoothly, and on top of that, they have a pretty cool action feature. The action feature also works nicely and almost gives you that kind of classic sort of Velociraptor pose that you would like to see, but also adds a nice element of playability to the figures on top of the articulation. And then we even have some really cool noises, and yes, you guessed it, the noises are Jurassic Park Velociraptor noises, so that also helps as far as the figures go to create a really cool, very appealing Velociraptor figure that I'm really happy to have both variants of now in my collection. And again, 2 figures I definitely recommend heading to your local Dollar General and searching out. So if you are interested in these, do exactly that. Head to your local Dollar General and check, see if they've got them in stock. My one Dollar General near me doesn't have them, but 2 others do have them. So if you happen to go to one and they don't have it, try to look at a different one, and hopefully you'll be able to stumble across them not long after doing so. So make sure you grab these really cool Raptors. and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.